Welcome to everyone. No fire drills are expected this evening, so in the event of the alarm sounding, please quickly make your way out of the building. There are 3 exits from this room which people can use to vacate the premises. Please ensure your mobile phones are turned off or on silent and take any calls outside of the council chamber. Do not leave any bags unaccompanied, and please report any unaccompanied bags. Remember to take any bags with you when the meeting is concluded or as you leave the meeting. This meeting may be subject to filming or audio recording by others in accordance with the council's filming protocol. Anyone who remains in the meeting following this announcement will have deemed to have consented to allow their image to be recorded and broadcast. I would like to remind members to turn their microphones on when speaking and to sit back from the microphones to assist the audio recording. Thank you. Before we move on to the published agenda, I want to hand the meeting over to the Mayor.
So I want to congratulate Paul and Lynn Henshaw on Charlotte Henshaw's achievement of double gold medals at the Paralympics. So can we all be upstanding, please? And amazing achievement. I mean, it's amazing what contribution our young people in athletics and swimming and Paralympics have done for this, for our town, and it makes us all very, very proud.
Thank you, Mayor. Now move on to the item of the agenda, apologies for absence. Are there any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Chair. We have apologies received from councillors Abbs, Answer, Ellis, Garner, Hammersley, Jackson and Moxon.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? Apologies, John Metcalfe. Are there any other apologies from the floor? Thank you. Move on to item 2 of the agenda, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? No, thank you. So move on to item 3 of the agenda, minutes of the meeting held on the 16th of July 2024. Do we have a proposer? Thank you. Councillor Coxhead, do we have a seconder? Thank you. Is everybody in agreement? Show of hands. Okay, thank you. It's carried. Moving to item 4 on the agenda. Receipt of correspondence laid before the council by the chair of the council, elected mayor.
Got the minutes. Second set of minutes here. It's the extraordinary.
Sorry, I just got the amended agenda. So move on to item 4 of the agenda, which is now minutes of the extraordinary meeting held on 31st of July 2024. I have a proposer. Councillor Henshaw. Councillor Henshaw, do I have a seconder? Councillor Coxhead.
No.
Okay.
I'll second.
Thank you, elected mayor. Can we have a vote on the accuracy meeting? Carried. Thank you. So we will now move on to item 5 of the agenda, receipt of correspondence laid before the council by the chair of the council, elected mayor, members of the executive or head of paid services. Have there been any correspondence?
Thank you, Chair. I've received one item of correspondence from the Efficiency East Midlands advising that the council have been awarded a community donation of £15,324 as a result of the council being a member of the EEM and using one or more of its procurement frameworks. I do have a full documented letter which I'm happy to share with any councillors should they wish to see it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to item 6 of the agenda. Are there any advanced questions from members of the public?
There are none, Chair.
Thank you. On to item 7 of the agenda. Are there any advance questions submitted by members?
There are 3, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Wright, do you want to
Thank you, Chair.
ask your first question?
Yeah, my first question is for the portfolio holder for regeneration. Wilton Street multi-storey car park was closed at 1800 hours on the 1st of March 2024. The council press release stated the closure was for essential maintenance and inspection after structural issues were identified, and the closure could last for a foreseeable future, maybe in excess of 12 months. Members have not received any updates re Walton Street since its closure nearly 7 months ago. Will the portfolio for regeneration update members by answering the following points? 1. What are the structural faults that have forced the foreseeable future closure? 2. When will remedial work commence, if not already started, and what is the agreed cost of the repair? 3. Are any business rates NNDR being levied on the closed building? If so, how much? 4. In a normal full year of operation, the car park returns an income of between 140 and 150k in ticket sales, which helps set against the running costs of around £420,000 to £430,000 on average. How is this financial shortfall being managed? And 5, since 2020, there has been a significant number of closures of the car park, some partial, some total. Will the portfolio holder for regeneration inform council as to how many days between January the 1st, 2020 and today's meeting of the 17th of September 2024 has Walton Street been either partially closed or totally closed to enable repairs to be carried out?
Councillor Richardson.
Yeah, thank you for the questions. So what are the structural faults? Walton Street multi-storey car park is of reinforced concrete frame construction and was built in 1975. The concrete decks to each floor are covered by asphalt and waterproof membranes. A full structural condition survey was undertaken in February 2024 that identified defects through visual inspection and intrusive surveys. A total of 162 defects were recorded and require structural repair and strengthening. These defects relate to structural induced corrosion of steel reinforcement. Testing of the floor decks identified moisture entering the slabs due to failed membranes. Defects were also identified in the drainage system. When will remedial works commence? No date has been scheduled to commence the works at Walton Street Car Park. Similar works are required at Four Seasons Car Park, and thus any works are to be phased to ensure both car parks are not closed to the public simultaneously. The cost of the repairs is estimated at £2.1 million, which also includes the renewal of the 4 lifts. Our business rate being levied. Yes, the rateable value for Walton Street Car Park is £43,750, and the business rates charged for 24/25 is £21,831.25p. The council will be liaising with the valuation officer to ensure that at different stages of the project, the appropriate NNDR discretion is applied and reduction secured, including during the periods of refurbishment. The full-year operation of this car park. The closure of the facility has led to a reduction in operating costs, including electricity, etc., and it is unlikely that the closure has stopped people parking in the town centre. Just in the town centre of Mansfield, just displace them to other facilities in the town, so the income and footfall is not lost to the town. Point 5. Answer the Car park has been closed a total of 1,036 days over that period to cover the cladding works, including recommissioning works. This closure was extended partly due to COVID and some extra work being carried out on the cladding to make it safe to the public. The car park reopened on 15th of April 2022 and unfortunately closed again on 29th of February 2024 due to the structural defects identified. No information is available for any partial closures.
Thank you, Councillor Richardson. Councillor Wright, do you have a supplementary question?
I do, Chair, thank you. This council pays an annual lease fee of £3,338. Sorry, £3,338,450 for the use of the car park, with essential add-ons. The figure grows to between 420,000 and 430,000 per annum. Your Labour predecessors in 1975 authorised the taking of a 99-year lease on a building with an anticipated lifespan of 50 to 75 years, which is already the lease requires the council to maintain the building.
Question, please, Councillor Wright.
Just one more line, Chair. The lease requires the council to maintain the building until the lease end, where it has to hand the property back in near perfect condition. And my question is, do you think taking such a long lease was a wise decision? And what efforts have you made as portfolio holder for regeneration to try and extricate this council from this millstone of a lease?
Sorry, Councillor Wright, but that question is not acceptable. It's nothing to do with your original question or the answer from Councillor Richardson. So we'll now move on to your second question to the portfolio holder for regeneration.
Well, okay, yeah, Chair, I don't agree with that, but we'll move on. We'll move on. Perhaps you didn't know the answer anyway. Anyway, question 2, questioned by myself to the portfolio holder for regeneration. This council purchased the former Beale store in December 2021, and I understand business rates, NNDR, have been levied on the council, plus other sundry expenses such as the bid, utilities and building maintenance. In 2023-24, this amounted to just over £200,000. This cost is very likely to be repeated every year after purchase up until Mansfield Connect's forecast opening date of February 27, accruing an approximate expenditure of £1 million. Will the portfolio holder for regeneration inform full council if this £1 million expenditure comes in the realm of the former government's levelling up grant, or is this cost to be passed to Mansfield and District Council taxpayers as the original building purchase was? Thank you.
Councillor Richardson.
The NNDR costs are being met by MDC as part of the town centre regeneration scheme. This has been built into the council budgets as part of the annual budget setting process, considered by full council. This is in support of the council's commitment towards repurposing this key town centre site and stimulating further investment in the town centre from generated football and driving further private investment. This is consistent with the council's commitment to delivering the approved town centre master plan. As with Walking Street Car Park, the council will be liaising with the valuation officer to ensure that at different stages of the project, the appropriate NNDR discretion is applied and reduction secured, including during the periods of demolition and construction and refurbishment.
Thank you, Councillor Richardson. Councillor Wright, do you have a supplementary question?
I hope it's going to be allowed, but here we go anyway. You never know. It's my understanding a greater than expected amount of asbestos has been discovered on the top floor of the former Beale store, which will cost a huge amount of money to clear and dispose of. How will this considerable unforeseen cost be managed, and what impact will it have on the Mansfield Connect project's budget?
Councillor Richardson.
Yeah. So I'm not sure about that, how much it will cost, and I can get you a written answer if that is the case.
Thank you, Councillor Richardson. Councillor Wright, do you want to put your third question to Councillor Richardson?
That was the expected answer. Okay, Chair, thank you very much. It's my last question. Will the portfolio holder for regeneration update full council on the latest position regarding the hotel development on the former Mansfield bus station site, which is not materialised? Leasing the site to the Arbour Group in 2021 to develop a hotel was supposed to be a positive effort by this council to improve the eastern gateway to Mansfield. And all we're seeing are 4 awful shoebox-looking buildings containing fast food takeaway outlets, as if Mansfield has not got enough of these such places.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Richardson?
The council continues to liaise with Arbour in supporting them to bring forward the hotel. As you and other council members will be aware, conditions have not been favourable over recent years, and construction in particular has been hit hard by the impact of the pandemic. Closely followed inflationary pressures and interest rate increases, leading to significant increases in costs and supply chain and material issues. Over recent years, this has meant that the hotel has been delayed. The council has safeguards in place through the land and funding agreements, should they ultimately be required, but is looking to work constructively with Arbour in exploring options while looking to an improvement in wider economic conditions that are not of Arbour's or the council's making. The Mayor and I met recently with Arbour to review the present position on the viability of the project, and while conditions are improving, they are not yet able to commence the project. However, we agreed to work with Arbour on bringing in expert advisors from the hotel sector to prepare a refreshed case for the hotel development and to meet with key players from the sector to help bring the development forward. I am encouraged that Arbour remain committed to the project, and in light of our challenge to them, they are keen to look at the alternative options. The hotel forms part of a wider mixed use of the development at Stockwell Gate. I don't share your perspective on the wider development, and I'm saddened that he does not recognise the value of over 80 jobs created within the units trading successfully on the site. Unlike him, I recognise the value of the regeneration of this vacant site, creating jobs and economic activity, forming part of our wider plans for the town. And unlike the previous administration, we have not sat on our hands. We are undertaking major development within the repurposing of the former Beale store that will bring a further increase of footfall into the town centre, on top of an increase already achieved. The current Labour administration is bringing modern, energy efficient council housing into the town via the exemplar White Hart Street development, regenerating a site that has been an eyesore for many years. You, as part of the independent administration, could have made different choices by investing more in planned maintenance of MDC's estate. You failed to do so, leaving the Labour administration to pick up the tab. This we are endeavouring to do, despite a 60% drop in funding from central government and 14 years of austerity delivered by the former Conservative government on a local and national level. May I also add for the wider chamber that planning applications have been submitted yesterday as part of the development of these sites.
Councillor Richardson. Councillor Wright, do you have a supplementary question?
I do, but I think firstly I correct Councillor Richardson. It was the independents who started the work around White Hart Street. You've taken it over, and good luck.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
That's the question.
My question is, or my supplementary question is, I understand the council has a break option in the former bus station's lease agreement with the Arbour Group, which can be exercised if the promised hotel is not delivered or construction started by two specific dates. What are these two dates, and will you exercise the break option should the hotel not be built?
Councillor.
I think the answer to that is in my former response to your question. We are working very hard with Arbor to bring forward the hotel development, and currently we're not looking at exercising any break options. We are committed to getting that hotel built, and Arbor assured us they are committed to the same.
May I ask, Chair, I didn't get the dates.
I don't know the dates off top of my head. I can give you that in a written answer.
Thank you.
You're playing the part well.
Thank you, Councillor Rowlett. Move on to item 8 of the agenda, extract minute from the Governance and Standards Committee for the Chair's annual report. I'd now like to invite Councillor Bell to propose and present his report.
Thank you, Chair. In this report, which is just for noting, I wish to express my many thanks to the assistance I've received from the members of the Governance and Standards Committee for all their hard work and diligence. I consider that having a non-elected member also on the committee adds value and technical expertise. I also particularly appreciate the support provided by the committee throughout the year by the Assistant Directors of Law and Governance and Finance, the Corporate Assurance Manager, the Financial Services Manager, and Democratic Services. I would also like to thank the Council colleagues and external auditors who have attended our meetings and answered our questions. Those attending the committee can confirm that it provides challenge in both terms of the assurance work reported on and the management's response. I appreciate the training that has been provided by the committee, or to the committee, I should say, and to the members in general during 23-24. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Just remind everybody to put any laptops on to mute, please. Thank you. To mute. Councillor Bell, would you like to continue?
Never knew my dulcet tones had that effect. I consider that it is essential that all members attend training provided, particularly when it's classed as being mandatory, such as data protection and cyber security. This report summarises the work performed by the committee during 23-24. Now it has contributed, I'll go it now, to ensuring the council has effective governance arrangements. In conclusion, I consider that the Governance and Standards Committee has effectively delivered its role during 23-24 and provided constructive challenge and scrutiny of a wide range of governance arrangements in line with its terms of reference. I am confident that the committee has also acted independently and added value to the council. Thank you, Chair. I propose this to the council, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Hartshaw. Thank you. Would anybody like to comment on the motion? No. Thank you. Councillor Bell, do you want to comment?
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Put it to the vote by a show of hands. All those for? Any against? Any abstentions? No. You just put his hand down. And any abstentions? Thank you. Motion's carried. Now I need to move on to item 9 of the agenda, the delegated decision by the portfolio holder for corporate and finance. I'd like to invite Councillor Whitby to present and propose his report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm delighted to present this report to full council for the acceptance of a capital grant from Homes England totalling £2.7 million to support the development of new homes on Centenary Road. This funding is a welcome boost to our ambitious plans to deliver affordable housing for our residents. This grant significantly reduces the financial burden on the council, allowing us to stretch our housing revenue account resources further, enabling future housing developments to take place.
This success is testament to the hard work and diligence of our officers who continue to explore and secure vital funding opportunities. The Centenary Road project will see the development of 77 new homes, with 52 of these expected to be completed by March 2026. These homes will contribute to our commitment to providing safe, affordable and sustainable housing to our residents, aligning with key priorities set out in our corporate strategy. By accepting this grant, we also strengthen our relationship with Homes England and demonstrate our ability to deliver projects and make a tangible difference in our community. I propose the recommendations as set out in section 2 be approved. I look forward to seeing the continued regeneration of our district as a result of this project. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
Second, we reserve the right.
Thank you, elected Mayor. Would anybody like to comment? Thank you. Councillor Whitby, do you have anything more to, sorry, elected Mayor, do you have anything more to say?
I'd like to say really that I'm really proud of this achievement, what we're doing. We're kind of setting an example for the incoming government about, brownfield development, sites that have been stood there for a long, long time doing nothing, and we're building affordable homes for our residents. We're also designing them to the 2025 building regs, which means 80% less CO2 emissions. So we've all been living through this cost of living crisis. We know the cost of energy is really crippling our residents. And so these homes are good for their pocket. They'll be a lot cheaper to run, but they're also go towards our climate emergency kind of targets. Every little helps, and it's absolutely great that we've got this brownfield grant, and really this is what government needs to do, because these sites are so difficult to make viable without getting them out of the ground with that brownfield regeneration. So well done to our team for achieving that grant and enabling these homes to be built fairly soon.
Thank you, elected Mayor. Councillor Whitley, do you have anything further to add? Thank you. We now move to the vote. This will be by a show of hands. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Motion's carried. Move on to item 10 of the agenda, the delegated decision by the portfolio holder for corporate and finance, the revenue and capital outturn position for 23-24. I'd like to invite Councillor Whitley to present and propose his report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to present the revenue and capital outturn report for the financial year 2023-24. This report provides a clear picture of the Council's financial performance, reflecting both the challenges we've faced and strategies we've adopted to overcome them. As many of you know, this financial year has been marked with continued economic pressures, largely due to the ongoing cost of living crisis and the rising cost of goods and services. Inflation, which peaked at 11.1% in late 2022, has since eased to 4% by December 23. Yet the impact on our budget was unavoidable. The unexpected pay award increase of 6.79% added £450,000 to the general fund and £209,000 to the housing revenue account. These pressures, however, were not isolated by events, we're not in isolated events, but we're part of a broader picture. For 14 years, the previous government systematically devastated local authority funding models. Cuts to central funding, coupled with increases in responsibilities, left councils like Mansfield to do more with significantly less. The relentless austerity measures have strained our ability to provide essential services, and we've had to rely heavily on council tax and business rates to plug the gaps. Despite these challenges, Mansfield District Council has showed resilience. Through careful financial management, we've maintained a surplus of £269,000 in the general fund, which will be reinvested into future projects. The housing revenue account also remains balanced, ensuring it will continue to provide crucial services to our tenants, despite rising maintenance and staffing costs. Our capital programme faced delays due to supply chain issues and rising costs, but we've ensured that all allocated funds remain committed to the projects and will help our community grow. This includes investments in key infrastructures that will benefit Mansfield for years to come. As we reflect on the challenges posed by the previous government's funding cuts, we must remain vigilant in our approach to financial management. We are hopeful that with the new government, there will be renewed attention to the needs of local authorities and a fairer funding model that recognises the vital services we provide. In conclusion, this outturn report underscores our ability to adapt, thrive, and even in difficult circumstances. I would like to thank our officers for their continued hard work and dedication, and I look forward to working with the new government to ensure Mansfield's future remains bright. I would therefore like to propose the recommendations to full council as set out in section 2 be approved. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Whitby. Do you have a seconder?
I'll second and reserve the right.
Thank you, elected mayor. Does anybody want to comment on the motion? Thank you. Elected mayor, do you want to comment?
Yeah, I'd like to comment and thank the whole, really, of Team Mansfield, you know, all the way through the establishment. You know, there's some scary figures, deficits that had to be addressed. And every department has looked at what they do, how they deliver their services. They contributed to the consultation. And although it's a bit like a conveyor belt, you know, 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards because of all those inflationary pressures that are still there and energy prices, we have managed to balance the budget and reduce that deficit. But as you can see, we're on that conveyor belt again this year, and we're looking to our Team Mansfield, everybody together, to look at how we do things so we can carry on to deliver those services. And it's going to take that kind of effort again to make sure that we get over the line this year. Hopefully, the economic outlook and maybe a longer term funding arrangement will give us more ability to plan ahead and then maybe introduce some innovation that actually ends up improving our services and saving us money going forward. So fantastic effort from all our officers, really appreciated.
Thank you, elected mayor. Councillor Whitby? Thank you. Now put it to the vote by a show of hands. All those for? Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Motion's carried. Now move to item 11 of the agenda, the delegated decision by the portfolio holder for corporate and finance, revenue and capital forecast year-end position at Q1. I'd like to invite Councillor Whitby to present and propose his report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this is the Q1 monitoring report for the current financial year to provide an update on the forecasted revenue and capital outturn positions against the current budget. The economic challenges we faced last year continue to affect us, particularly the cost of living crisis and high inflation. Inflation remains above target, with the consumer price index standing at 4% as of December 23, down from 11.1%. However, the higher than expected pay award, still subject to final agreement, is putting additional pressure on our budgets. The corporate leadership team has been working tirelessly to find efficiencies, which is reflected in the forecast. For the general fund, we're forecasting a year-end surplus of £263,000. This is largely due to prudent financial management and higher than expected income from interest savings and lower borrowing costs. However, there are areas to watch closely, such as staffing costs, with an increased reliance on agency staff due to recruitment challenges, which add strains to several service areas. The housing revenue account also sees rising costs in repairs, maintenance and compliance works, particularly in asbestos removal. Despite these additional pressures, the housing revenue account is projecting a balanced position. On the capital side, there's been slippage in some areas due to delays in project delivery and supply chain issues, but these are being managed and carried forward. Carry forward requests will ensure funds remain allocated to these projects. While we continue to manage our finances responsibly, it's essential to recognise that many of these pressures stem from the decisions made by the previous government. Over the past 14 years, local authorities have seen a systematic cuts to funding, which have exacerbated the challenges we now face. This Q1 report demonstrates the council's resilience, but we must remain vigilant even, and continue to push for a fairer funding model under the new government. In conclusion, I'm pleased to report that despite ongoing pressures, we are managing to keep our financial position stable, and I would like to thank officers for their hard work and commitment in these challenging times. I therefore propose recommendations set out in section 2 of the report be approved by full council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Whitby. Do I have a seconder?
Second and reserve the right.
Thank you. Does anybody want to speak on the motion? Elected Mayor?
No, nothing further. They answered it last time. You know, we've got to go again, you know, this year. Yeah.
Councillor Whitby?
That's right, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll move to the vote by a show of hands. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Motion's carried. Item 12 on the agenda, decision outside of the budget and policy framework approval of funding for legal fees. I'd like to invite the elected mayor to present his report. Approval of funding.
Thank you, Chair. The report before members is to confirm the approval of fees associated with the council pursuing legal actions to firstly recover costs incurred by the council remediating the defects at 50 to 52 Bedford Road, Clapham property, and secondly to proceed with debt recovery action in respect of unpaid rental income due to the council. Council will note that as elected mayor, I have agreed to pursue legal action in respect of the Bedford Road property, which I took in accordance with paragraph 3.07 of the council's constitution. In accordance with the same, I have agreed that the funds from the council's legal services reserves be approved to support the legal action and outlined in an exempt appendix up to a value of £360,000. In making this decision, I am confident that the council should pursue legal actions against those who may be responsible for the defect to that property, as well as recover the large amount of unpaid rent which has been outstanding for some time. The legal action the full details of the Bedford Road property is set out in the body of the report, which appears under item 12 of the agenda. The legal action for the debt recovery is as set out as exempt part of the agenda, which members will get an opportunity to discuss once the resolution of exclusion of the press and public has passed in accordance with the Local Government Act of 1972. Members are asked to endorse and note the decision which was published on the 22nd of August 2024.
Thank you, elected mayor. Does anybody have any questions for the elected mayor? Councillor Camilleri?
Why is it such an urgent one when you know it's been going on for a long time? Why have you made an urgent decision? Why have you had to impose the urgency? Why not have a discussion about it, bring it to council to discuss it? We know they're in debt, we know that, but why have you made it so quick? Because to make an urgent decision, it is very unusual for a mayor to make. Am I right? So,
Well, I don't think that.
I'm not sure that last point's actually correct, but most of the manoeuvres around making legal decisions are extremely sensitive. They're not the sort of things that you discuss in open council to let the people that you're actually trying to bring to account. You don't give them the ammunition to find the defence. We've used the best legal experts for our strategy, because when you come up against bigger players, you have to make sure that you use the best and expert advice. And it's not until we're totally confident and we've looked at every angle that we've proceeded. There are other details that I can't really reveal at this time, but there's been new legislation that's given us an opportunity to advance and increase our chances of success of hopefully getting proper compensation. And in that sense, it was good to move at speed, and what you want to do is catch your opponents off foot. So that's why we don't have a big debate about it.
Thank you, elected mayor. Does anybody else have any questions? No, you've had your question, Councillor Cameron. It's been answered. Anybody else have any questions? Thank you. I'd like to invite the elected mayor to propose.
So I propose that members endorse and note the decision taken on the 22nd of August 2024.
Seconder.
I'll second that, reserve the right, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Whitby. Does anybody wish to comment on the motion? The Camilleri? Give your comment, Councillor Camilleri. Councillor Henshaw?
Yeah, Chair, let's support this decision. At the end of the day, we've got to try and do what's best for the council. And the decision's been made in relation to going to try and get some compensation. So I don't understand why we needed a special meeting when the mayor, and it's gone through correct procedures, can make that decision. He's made that decision in the best interest of this council. So I'd support it. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Henshaw. Councillor Stendhal?
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to say it must be very tricky to look at the background of all this and get to the point we are today. And all I can say is, well, it's about time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments? Thank you. Councillor Whitby?
To add, Chair.
Elected mayor?
I'd just like to say, you know, besides going, starting this legal action, we're going after the baddies out there, you know. It's the right and proper thing to be doing, but we haven't done this lightly. And everybody knows about the legal minefield, especially, you know, when you look at, well, you start to get into detail, but you know the background to this. It's a very complex case, but we have, through another avenue, kind of doubled our chances of making some progress. So I'm pleased that we are going forward because it is morally the right thing to do, and from the expert advice that we've received, we obviously believe that we will get some success, but it won't be tomorrow.
Thank you, elected mayor. We're going to put the motion to the vote. This will be by a show of hands. All those for? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Motion is carried. Now move on to item 13 of the agenda, the political balance and composition of committees. I'd like to invite the Chief Executive Officer to present his report.
Thank you, Chair. This item is item 13, pages 111 to 118. This report sets out the proposed political balance of the Council's committees and seeks the Council's agreement to the composition and appointment to those committees. to ensure compliance with the Local Government and Housing Act 1989 and the Local Government Committees and Political Groups Regulations 1990. There is a slight amendment to the report under 4.1 where this actual proposal comes as a result of Councillor Walker moving from the Mansfield Independents to become an unaligned member. The changes in regard to political balance and changes to committee can be found on page 113, section 4.11. The recommendations as set out in the report to Council are the political balance of the committees of the Council be agreed as set out in Appendix 1 and the appointment of membership of the Council's committees be approved as set out in the report. Thank you, Chair.
Does anybody have any questions with the CEO? Okay, do we have a proposer?
Propose.
Thank you. Have a seconder?
Can you reserve the right, Chair?
Councillor Whitby, thank you. Does anybody wish to comment on the motion? Thank you. Councillor Whitby? Elected Mayor?
Nothing to add.
Thank you. Now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Motion is carried. So move on to item 14 of the agenda. Are there any motions for the meeting?
Thank you, Chair. There is one motion.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Councillor Camilleri to present his motion.
Thank you very much. I don't propose to read it all out because it's quite a long involved thing. I'm just going to read the last 4 paragraphs. Therefore, Mansfield District Council resolves to launch a council-led awareness campaign to alert and encourage those eligible for pension credit to apply for it because to do so will trigger access to winter fuel payments. Send a letter from the elected mayor to the Chancellor of the Exchequer urging a review of the decision to means test winter fuel payment and asking the government to ensure that vulnerable pensioners, particularly those who do not claim pension credit, are protected from fuel poverty. Commit the council to signing the Save the Winter Fuel Payment for Struggling Pensioners petition being run by Age UK and write to all members offering them the opportunity to sign the petition for themselves. And 4, encourage local efforts to promote pension credit uptake through council services and partnerships with local charities and community organisations to ensure that all eligible pensioners in Mansfield District are supported in claiming their entitlement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Camilleri. Do you have a seconder?
Yes, Chair, I second that motion and reserve the right to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson.
Chair, I'd like to propose an amendment to the motion.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder?
Right, Chair, and reserve the right.
Thank you. Elected Mayor, would you like to propose your amendment?
Just wait till they've got the copies in front of them.
Could we have 5 minutes just to study the amendment, please?
That's fine. Can we be back here for 5 to 7, please? Thank you.
Very much.
So just extend a warm welcome. I'd like to extend a warm welcome for James Biddleston, Strategic Director, Operations Strategy, and Samira Khan, Assistant Director, Legal and Governance and Monitoring Officer.
Yeah.
So I'll leave that on
Yeah, just
there
leave it there so that, yeah.
to get through, yeah.
Okay. Elected Mayor, do you want to read your amended motion?
Thank you, Chair. So the reason why we've got an amendment is because we want to provide a more balanced perspective to the changes to the winter fuel allowance. It is crucial that the public is informed of all the factors and decisions that have brought us to make this amendment. So Mansfield District Council notes the Labour government's recent decision to focus the winter fuel payment on pensioners in receipt of means-tested benefits like pension credit, as announced by Chancellor Rachel Reeves. About 780,000 pensioners in England and Wales are set to lose their winter fuel allowance because they are not expected to apply for the benefits that they are entitled to according to the government's own analysis. The vital role winter fuel payments have played in helping older residents across Mansfield and the UK afford heating during the coldest months, thereby prevent this heat or eat dilemmas and safeguarding health. So they are very important. The Labour government is delivering its manifesto promise to protect the triple lock, ensuring more money in pensioners' pockets, with a full state pension being worth around £1,700 by the next election. The Labour government's tough but unnecessary fiscal decisions to protect the public finances, ensuring long-term economic stability and keeping taxes, inflation and mortgages low, which will ultimately benefit pensioners and vulnerable households. The government's commitment to support vulnerable households this winter includes delivering the £150 warm home discount for low-income households, extending the Household Support Fund with £421 million to ensure local authorities can support those most in need, and urging eligible pensioners to apply for that pension credit, which would automatically entitle them to the winter fuel payments, which are worth up to £300 for households with someone aged over 80. So Mansfield District Council believes that the winter fuel payment has been a lifeline for many older people across the district, and restricting its availability does risk leaving some pensioners in financial hardship. Efforts should focus on increasing that pension credit uptake, which will ensure that eligible pensioners will receive the winter fuel payment and the other benefits that they are entitled to. By encouraging local awareness of pension credit and working closely with partners who have a strong community link, we can mitigate the impact of these changes to vulnerable residents. And I thank the original motion for raising this so we can discuss it together, but I think it needed a bit more of a balanced perspective. Therefore, Mansfield District Council resolves to 1. Launch a council-led local awareness campaign to alert and encourage those eligible for pension credit to apply for it, triggering that access to winter fuel payments. Number 2, encourage local efforts to promote the pension credit uptake through the council services and partnerships through the local charities and community organisations, including Mansfield Community and Voluntary Services, where we've had strong links and we had fantastic relationship all the way through that COVID crisis. So they are absolutely the right people to get the message out there. And 3, ensure that the council's housing and wellbeing teams continue to secure support for the most vulnerable residents through the Household Support Fund, which is accessed to provide essential help to those most in need.
Do you have a seconder?
I'll second that, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Whitby. Now moving to debate mode. Does anybody wish to comment on the amendment? Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mayor, for your comment. We welcome all of the points that you have highlighted in this amendment, but by failing to include item 2, which we stated in our motion, which is to send a letter from the elected mayor to the Chancellor of the Exchequer, urging a review of the decisions to means test the winter fuel payment and asking the government to ensure that vulnerable pensioners, particularly those who do not claim pension credits, are protected from fuel poverty, means that we cannot support this motion, this amended motion you've put before us. As we have stated in our original substantive motion, Age UK has launched an emergency petition to save the winter fuel payment, which we have all signed. Pensioners in Mansfield are losing out. Approximately 90 of the pensioners that live in Mansfield and Warsaw. Those with high energy needs, such as a disability, will be disproportionately affected, translating to 71% of those with additional needs who do not meet the criteria for pension credits, as well as pensioners that live in energy inefficient homes. The DWP estimate that around 880,000 households nationally do not receive pension credit for which they are entitled to, as either they are unaware or they are simply don't have access or the means to the internet to apply for it. Therefore, the removal of this allowance will in turn have a massive impact on the NHS this winter, as pensioners may have to make the unthinkable decision to choose whether heating or eating comes first. A report commissioned by Labour in 2017 informed government that if the winter fuel allowance was removed, 3,800 pensioners would die as a result of this action. This recent Labour decision, however, was undertaken with no impact assessment in place to mitigate the effect it will have on some of the most vulnerable members of our society. Pensioners in Mansfield and Warsaw will be disproportionately affected by this Labour policy due to the high deprivation areas in Mansfield. Mansfield District Council falls into the top 15% of the most deprived areas within the county, and 1 in 7 in neighbourhoods in Mansfield appearing amongst the most 10% deprived nationally. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Does anybody else wish to comment? Councillor Henry?
Many members may not be aware, but the maximum income to qualify for the guarantee element of pension credit is just £218.15 per week, and someone receiving the full state pension of £221 per week and an occupational pension of just £200 per month, for example, does not qualify for pension credit. And pensioners with incomes as low as £13,000 per year do not qualify for pension credit. They will now no longer be eligible to receive the winter fuel allowance. We know that Mansfield residents experience higher than average ill health and higher than average deprivation, and so many pensioners here in Mansfield will fall into this category and will be hit hard by this measure. We have heard the rationale for this decision, but there are always difficult decisions to be made in government, and whilst many of us here would like to see more funding for our public services, that should not be coming at the expense of some of our poorest and most vulnerable pensioners. And this cannot be right when the government at the same time has agreed inflation busting pay deals for many workers, some of whom are already earning sums well in excess of the national average. I would also ask, in making this decision, what has happened to the Prime Minister's promise that those with the broadest shoulders will carry the heaviest burden. Whilst it is welcome that the amended motion proposes promotion of the uptake of pension credit, in order to safeguard the impact on the poorest pensioners who do not qualify, the government should be considering wider measures, for example, by allowing those in receipt of council tax benefit to continue to receive the winter fuel allowance. With inadequate mitigations in place for those who are just over the pension credit threshold, I am therefore unable to support the amended motion.
Does anybody else wish to comment? Councillor Camilleri?
Okay, no, well, actually, I was sat thinking about this last night, and I was thinking, what do I say? Do I go to figures or, yeah, that's what you're going to listen to the figures. I was thinking that when I was a young lad at Rutland Colliery, talked to Dennis Concannon, the ex-Labour MP, Christian Social Democrat, top man, top working class, what he would have thought of the Labour Party's decision to withdraw benefits from the most vulnerable society. And then I got to thinking about Bernard Taylor, I knew well. What was that? Another Christian Social Democrat, working class man. Right? What would he be thinking that? What would he think about this decision by a Labour government to withdraw benefits to the public? And I don't think wouldn't believe it. That here I am, a Conservative, speaking up for the most vulnerable of our district, and which I am. I believe that we should look after as vulnerables, and they're not only at £13,000 a year is not a lot of money, and you go over that, you don't get pension credit. And you know, this government's out of control. He made this decision very quick. I was trying to imagine as well how they made this decision. Did they sit on the first day of government think, well, what we'll do, I know what we'll do. What's a good decision to make, Rachel? I'll tell you what, we'll withdraw the winter fuel payment from pensioners, all the pensioners in the country. Now, I'll guarantee one thing, you'd have thought that as well. In your little hearts now, you're wishing they had to make that decision. We've just done run a by-election in Bestwood with a 13.5% swing towards. Why is that? There's 17,000 people in Mansfield and Warsaw who are going to lose out. And many of them, probably like me, I've got 3 jobs, I'm Kelly Carter, so I don't really need the 300 quid. But there's a lot, because we're the most, what is it, the 12th most deprived area in England. We have got probably the most people who just miss out as well. I'll guarantee that. But what are they going to do? They're not going to fill the form. It's a very complicated form. But that's what I do like about what you're saying here, Andy, is that you're going to reach out to these people to get them to fill in the pension credit. Good idea. I had a person ring me up yesterday, an old woman who worked in the NHS for 40 years. True story. She worked part-time and a small pension. She was that old. She didn't actually qualify for a new pension. She gets about £8.5 a year on the pension, and she got about 4 or 5 from the NHS, which tipped her over the limit. She lives in her own house. She lives on her own. She's absolutely fine to death. She's frightened about me. I just thought, oh, that's my phone going in my hearing aid. I just thought, and she's worried to death that Labour might make another wonderful decision to get rid of the 25% council tax on single people. Because that's the rumour that's going on. I don't think Labour will do that, by the way. I think they won't do it, and they'll say, look, we've not done that. I think she's frightened of losing her bus pass. Because she lives on her own, she doesn't drive, she can't get around. These are the things that you're thinking. You're thinking the same as me. And you're having to support this motion, this thing to get rid of the eating allowance, and you know, and I know it's wrong. What you can't understand, and I agree with that, that why you cave into the drivers, the train drivers, the school teachers, the doctors, anybody that might be vote for Labour, the champagne socialists. That's what Dennis Concannon wasn't. He wasn't a champagne socialist. That's what Bernard Taylor was. He wasn't a champagne socialist. He was a proper working socialist who felt that it counted. That's why I left socialism and came to Tory. But they didn't look after the working class. And this is the classic. It's the classic.
It's 30 seconds that Councillor Camilleri.
Yeah, 30 seconds. I'll just finish off with this. It's a very different, there's 4 kinds of decision. There's easy decisions, there's difficult decisions, isn't there? Right? there's right decisions and wrong decisions. And the Labour Party, you mark my words, have made the wrong decision, and you'll pay for it in the ballot box. You'll pay for it when you go out to your residence, and you know it. You've already had it. You know what's in it. Labour people that supported you, believed in you, and you let them down. I won't be supporting this motion or this amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Camilleri. We'll move to the vote. Do you have anything? Sorry, apologies.
Excuse me. Can we have it recorded, please?
We need 10 people to.
All right.
Yeah, just bear with me. I need to come back to the original proposers. Councillor Whitby.
Nothing further to add, Chair, other than, well, I've got one thing. I'm disappointed that the Conservative members will not be supporting our bid to launch a council-led awareness campaign. They will not be supporting encouraging local efforts to promote pension credits that will help these pensioners. And it's a shame that they're not going to be supporting the council's housing and wellbeing teams to continue their support, identifying those most vulnerable. We do need to work together on this. And we are in this position because of 14 years of disastrous running of the economy.
Please, Councillor Camilleri.
And refusing to make the difficult decisions and sticking with the popular decisions, and look at the mess it's created.
Yeah.
Elected Mayor.
Yeah, so first of all, before I answer the speech from Andre, we've got a proud record of how we've looked after our communities through the cost of living crisis. You know, we're one of the first councils to set up the cost of living roadshows. We got partners together to protect our most vulnerable residents. And we've got that framework in place to help again through this difficult time. It's the right and proper thing that we get people who are entitled to those pension credits to get those benefits and to trigger those payments that are going to help them. And it's a bit difficult to kind of sit here and listen to a Conservative talk about the reasons why we're in this mess. We've got a 22 billion black hole in the finances because of unfunded promises made by the previous government. The audit, Public Audit Committee have never experienced this before, where effectively it's a government who just made things up and put no money against it. So we've had the 14 years of austerity, and you talk about the rules that take the people off the cliff edge. Who's been in charge for the last 14 years where you should have a gradual process that when you go over a certain amount, it only makes a small difference. So you've been in power that long. You should have done something about it when you're in power. And you make a cheap shot against the pay deals. It doesn't matter. You've had your say. Didn't interrupt you. So you mentioned the pay deals, but it doesn't matter what aspect of the previous government's policy. It's just a mess. Even you talk about the finances involved with the pay deals. Well, the pay deals that have left the NHS in a really precarious state to deal with any ill health has come about from protracted no action by the last government that cost millions of pounds. They could have settled it half a year ago at least. So Labour are clearing up the mess that you've left behind. And what I would say is, you talk about tough decisions. So it is a tough decision, but it's unlike the previous government that would just duck and dive to say anything to get a few votes. So we're going to make sure that we follow through with our proud record, and we're going to have warm rooms in a variety of settings, food provisions. We've already got awards for our fuel vouchers, and we're going to make sure we lobbied government straight away for the continuation of the Household Support Fund, and we got a responsive government that straight away put £421 million, and that's for the most vulnerable people. So it's a balanced amendment to this motion and not a politically motivated one for scoring cheap points. I commend the amendment to the motion.
Thank you, elected Mayor. Now move to the vote. Councillor Cameron, did you still want to have a recorded vote? Do you have a seconder? Okay. And put it to the vote. Are there 10 people who would like a recorded vote? 10 members? Thank you. Not carried. We now move to the vote by a show of hands. All those in favour of the amended motion? All those against? Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. The amended motion is carried. Thank you. The motion is now open for debate. Does anybody wish to comment? Councillor Stendhal?
Thank you, Chair. The original motion that was put forward and now this motion that's now the actual substantive motion on the table. I'm an independent. We'll never ever get a motion that's written to please every one of us in this chamber, every one of us in this country. We'll never do it. Now, I can't affect personally what people choose to vote, how they choose to vote at a general election. The people voted at the general election and we have the government that we have now. My main interest is for the people of my ward. And I would rather see a motion change such as like this, an amendment to the original motion, because it gives the people of my ward a chance. Because Mansfield District Council are pledging here to do something for Mansfield people. I can't affect people in London, Birmingham, Edinburgh, wherever they are, but I can try and do the best for people in my ward and people in Mansfield. So that's why I voted for this today. I think it's important we keep a focus on what this is saying, and it's saying that we are going to do our best as a council to make sure that our elderly residents who need the support will get it. Now, I do only hope that this is carried through. I will keep an eye on it myself, and if there's anything that I can do to help to get this moving forward for all the residents in my ward, then please somebody let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stendhal. Does anybody else wish to comment? Councillor Dennis?
I just wanted to say, this motion made me think of when, as a council, we needed to make cuts, because I remember us being on the scrutiny committee when we were given a big list of things we had to look through to make the cuts to stop Mansfield District Council from going bankrupt. And I remember, as hard as it was, we made difficult decisions so we didn't have to make worse ones. And when we did make those difficult decisions, we tried our best to mitigate those decisions as much as possible. And I think this is what this is doing. We are carry on a tradition we've always had of dealing with difficult circumstances. You can't change the hand you've been dealt, but what you can do is you can play it.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan?
I'd just like to agree with Councillor Stendhal. We can't affect change, or well, we can lobby to affect change in other areas. But however, our priority should be and will be on the residents of this district. And that's what we need to ensure, that they're protected and our most vulnerable do receive the support. And like the Mayor has already said, we have got good partnerships in place to actually start that. And I know we've already started that, because I know we've already started it in housing and with the DWP, looking at how we help and support residents to claim pension tax credits, or those who are not eligible to claim pension tax credits. What else is out there to support them through these winter months and beyond? And I think as a council, all of us, irrespective of politics, we should all be doing our best for our residents, because they come first, and that's who we're here to represent.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Callaghan. Does anybody else wish to comment? Thank you. Councillor Camilleri, as the mover of the original motion, do you wish to reply?
Your amendment, there's some very laudable things in there, and I do hope you do it. But in the end, you don't agree with me that we shouldn't have had the cut in the winter allowance. You wanted to go ahead. You think that was the right money to save, when there's loads of other places you could have gone for the rich people, the non-ones that you speak about, all these people, but you decided to go for the most vulnerable, which were the old age pensions. I look after my residents as much as anybody. My residents are number one, but there are going to be a lot of people, your residents and mine, who as a district council won't be able to help because they're over the credits, they're over the limits, and they're very proud, and they're very things. They are the people that I'm interested in. The people who are on their own income, get pension credit, they will be looked after. It's the others, and you know, this is very good. And if everybody does this, what your amendment says, that's good. But there's still going to be people who miss out on a heating allowance, and you still, none of you, other than us, have decided that we shouldn't have had it in the first place. And we wanted to go to the Chancellor and say, we don't like that, review it. It was a decision made very quickly, without the thought of the consequences. You know it and I know it. And you're paying the consequences now. You're like sinking, and you're coming up behind you. You know it was a wrong decision to make. It was far more you could have done rather than hit the pension. I mean, like you say, not all pensioners vote Conservative. That's what they think, but they don't. And I'm just disappointed that we're not protecting our pension. That's all. But
thank you, Councillor Camilleri. Councillor Whitby?
That's right, Chair.
Elected Mayor?
I just want to give one example of you know, how we've got a fantastic network. Tomorrow, I'm going to be attending the community network meeting, and there's 145 invitees of that stretch all the way across our district, that really get to know all our vulnerable pensioners in all sectors of our community. And we'll be going out and saying to them, you know, as we will be saying to our council officers, going out in housing and everywhere, spread the word. You know, it's actually wrong that these pension credits that are available to help people haven't been taken up. So this is going to be a real opportunity to get these people to get that money that's their money, that they've been due to, and we'll be making every effort to do that to mitigate any hardship in our district.
Thank you, elected Mayor. We now move to the vote on the amended motion. This will be by a show of hands. All those in favour? Thank you. Anybody against? Thank you. Any abstentions? The amended motion is carried. Thank you. Before we move on to the next item on the agenda, I'm going to take a break from protocol. I'm going to extend a warm welcome to James Biddlestone, the Strategic Director for Operations and Strategy, and Samira Khan as Assistant Director Legal and Governance and the Monitoring Officer. This is their fourth council in their positions. I just wish them the warmest of welcomes. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to move on to item 15 of the agenda, Local Government Act 1972, the exclusion of the press and the public. Do we have a proposer? Councillor Whitby?
I propose to remove that.
Yeah, thank you. Let's have a seconder.
Second, observe the right.
Thank you. We've put to the vote, please. Show of hands. All those for? Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. It is carried. Thank you.